Hello, my name is Chris and I'm with quiltingweekly.com. Today's mini tutorial will be about binding, and the first part of our tutorial will be on measuring your quilt for the binding. The sample I have in front of me was from our Machine Quilting 101 class, where we made a sampler. In each of our squares we did a different method of quilting. It was all done what I call grid quilting with a walking foot. If you're new to machine quilting, I highly recommend you going to quiltingweekly.com and take a look at our Machine Quilting 101 class. There's a lot of great information in that class. But anyway, I have yet to bind my sampler, so I thought today would be a perfect piece to use for my demonstration. So, the first thing you need to do when you're measuring for binding is you need to know the size of your quilt. Now, on a large quilt, this is extremely important. On a quilt this size, you could probably guess and be fine with the binding. However, let's just pretend this is a gigantic queen-size quilt. The first place you're going to measure is across the width, and then you're going to measure the length. Notice that I put my tape measure down the center of my quilt. This is the most accurate way to measure for binding. In some cases, you could measure from one side, the center, and the other side. If you do get a variance in those measurements, take an average of the 3 points and use that number. The reason being is that as you machine quilt, your quilt top pulls in, it can gather, it can bunch up a little bit, and your ends tend to become distorted, or in some cases they're not the same. The left side and the right side may be very different. So measuring across the center and across the length, and then once you get those measurements, multiply them by, add these two measurements together, multiply it times 2. That'll give you your circumference of your quilt. Then you want to add about 10 or 12 inches to that number to get your actual length of binding you need. Those extra inches are going to allow you to overlap the ends at the beginning and the end piece, and give you enough to turn your corners so that you have nice miters. Okay? Tune in for part 2 when we make the binding strips. Thank you.